Pagan all the time.
Hello, this is Rev Don coming to you from beautiful Florida. And first, let me wish you a happy calendrical new year. And as our first question of that new year, we have a question from Joy Martinez. And Joy has this question. Does the celebration of Yule always coincide with the winter solstice? Or are there other factors involved, such as calendar date or astrological factors of various sorts? And my answer to this is that in contemporary practice, yes, the celebration of Yule always coincides with and is in effect indivisible from the winter solstice. And although it is true that the particular date that an individual or group may choose to celebrate Yule may not be the actual solstice, they are still commemorating the solstice in the celebration. And this is why Yule does not have a specific calendar date, like the Grand Sabbats such as Beltane or Samhain. Yule will fall on any of a number of dates in late December, depending on exactly when the solstice occurs. This is also true for the other lesser Sabbats of Ostara, Midsummer, and Mabon. They will occur when the solstice or equinox takes place, not on a specific calendar date. So yes, Yule, in contemporary practice at least, is indissoluble from the winter solstice. Now, historically, the festival of Yule could be more than one day. It could go as long as 12 days, but it's still centered around the solstice and commemorated the solstice. So that would be my answer. I hope you find it helpful, and until next time, may you blessed be. Hello, this is Rev Don Lewis coming to you from witchschool.com. Are you looking for the best in pagan and magical education? With more than 12,000 pages, witchschool.com is like having your own personal library with individual learning assistants to help you study. And Witchschool's Anyone, Anytime, Anywhere education system is available any place on Earth, anywhere you are and anytime you want it, as long as you have an internet connection. Witchschool's lifetime memberships are a great value. They really do last a lifetime. They've been there for years and they'll be there for years to come. So get your membership today at witchschool.com.
And we're continuing our Yule Showcase and Marathon, showing you some great people. We have Jade Aurora, an author, and she writes books. Of course she does, but fictional books. So a lot of the people we've been interviewing are mostly been in sort of writing text, but we love fiction. We love the stories. So it's always great to do that. Hi, Jade. Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
So, as you stated before, my name is Jade Aurora. I am based in Michigan. I'm 33 and I am an urban fantasy author. My first book was published in July of 2020. And here are my books, Motor City Witches 1 and 2. And in addition to writing, I am also an artist and illustrator. I also paint. And if there's anyone watching that's into anime and cosplay, I'm also a cosplayer. So if you're in the Metro Detroit area, you may have seen me at YumaCon at some time.
Mm-hmm.
I am also a pinup model and a burlesque performer.
That's a great combination. So you say urban fantasy novels.
Yes.
For people who are not familiar with that genre, what is that genre?
Urban fantasy is basically fantasy, but it takes place in like an urban setting, like cities.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm from Detroit. So of course I set my books in Detroit because that's what I'm most familiar with.
And it is. And what are Motor City Witches? That sounds fun.
Yeah, so Motor City Witches is about 3 women, Rochelle, Sarai, and Louise. They're all 3 of them are friends. They're in their early 20s. So now Louise is very familiar with magic and the occult because she comes from multiple generations of witches. So she's raised in it. But Rochelle and Sarai, who are also childhood friends, they become interested in the occult through their friendship with Louise. And the book touches on a lot of issues. Like Sarai comes from a conservative Christian household, and she's kind of the family black sheep because she's an aspiring horror author. She is a fan of like the goth aesthetic. So her family doesn't really accept her hobbies or her interests. Rochelle is, like myself, a pinup model. And one of her struggles is she is just getting out of a very toxic and emotionally abusive relationship. So like her character development is like when she starts practicing magic, she learns the importance of self-love, rebuilding her confidence, and also so she starts getting into glamour magic. And what I think makes these books unique is that it does have supernatural elements, but it also includes actual spiritual and magical practices.
So right away, this sounds wonderful. And I think Detroit's an unusual place. I've seen Chicago, I've seen Salem, I've seen New York, I've seen
Right.
Los Angeles. I'm a big fan of Detroit because you guys have a great urban farming community there.
Yeah.
So that and you guys have got a real renewal energy going around there.
Yeah.
It's hard. Detroit's a hard city, so and having that behind it sounds like such a great place to present. Where do they find these books right away? Then I want to talk about a little more
So
of the other things you do.
you can find them on the publisher's website. So blackgoldpublishing.com. And it has a directory that takes you directly to the bookstore page. They are also both available on Amazon. If you are interested in digital books, I have digital copies available on Etsy as well as my coffee page.
Okay, and what's your title on Etsy? What's your
So
shop on Etsy?
the name of my shop on Etsy is Roxy Joe Creation. So ROXY capital JO and then capital C for Creations. That's the name of my shop.
Terrific. So yeah, for anyone out there who's been doing, so I know a lot of our people are doing Etsy. If you do buy Amazon, go to your local group, find out who has Amazon Cares and utilize that as well, because that's a way to spread the joy this year. Several of the big groups have Amazon
And as
Cares.
always, I'm always open for art commissions too. So if there's those that are interested in having art done for them, I'm always open.
So let's talk about that. So art commissions, you talk about art commissions. What type of art are you doing now that you do commissions for?
I do a lot of fantasy art, of course, but I also do pinup art because, like I said, I'm in the pinup. I'm part of that community because of the burlesque. So I do a lot of vintage pinup art. I'm pretty much open to anything. So, but my primary genres are pinup, fantasy. I also do a little bit of erotic art as well. So,
Sounds like a wonderful combination.
yeah.
It does. It sounds like a pretty amazing thing. So pinup. It's a word I haven't heard anyone use recently, because when I think of Hilda, I think of all those
Right.
wonderful paintings on the front of World War II
Right.
vintage plane.
And that's kind of thing. When I got started, I started modeling in 2012, so it's been about 10 years. I didn't know pinup models still existed until I started seeing models on like my Facebook feed, and I was like, people still do this, because I've always been a fan of vintage fashion. Like growing up, I used to watch old black and white movies with my grandmother. So I used to always like how glamorous these women were with the hairstyles and the dresses they wore. So when I saw that there's still a niche for this, that's when I started looking on how to find photographers in my area. And that's how I basically got started.
That's wonderful. I know. I think when I think of the old movies, I think of Mae West, because I know
Yeah.
both off screen, she was a very fantastic, very free person. But on screen, oh my God, she just lit it up. So when I think of that sort of thing, and so that's great. I mean, there's a lot of energy behind that. So I think there's a lot of room for that, especially in our witchy vibe, just because it seems to be growing. I'm noticing more memes with like individual pictures of people being, this sort of pinup girl on the broom and all that. So the idea of the sexy witch is still very much there. And I know some people don't like that imagery, but a lot of us do. It's a lot of fun.
And also for those that do get my books, I just want to add a disclaimer.
Mm-hmm.
So my books are for readers 18 and up, because my books do deal with, it has,
that's good to know.
Yeah, it has strong language. It also has adult themes. It also deals with dark themes such as mental illness, abuse, violence. And so it's not for your kids. So I just wanted to, and one of my,
well, that's a good thing, because a lot of the authors have been talking about their kid books. And when I think of urban sort of fantasy books, I tend to think of the YA market, the young adult market.
Yeah.
So there's not that. So Motor City is for us adults. That's always a pleasure to see it being written for adults. Huh? Yeah. So let us go ahead. And so you're doing pinup, you're doing art commissions. How do people get to you for art commissions?
So I'm on Facebook, Twitter, as well as Instagram. So if you find me on Facebook, you can look me up as Jade Aurora. You can
Mhm.
I also have a Facebook page called Roxy Joe Creations, so you can find me there because that's where I have most of my artwork. You can
Mhm.
also have Instagram. I have an Instagram page under Roxy Joe Creations, and also my main Instagram is Jade Aurora 1989. That's also my Twitter username. So that's where you're able to find me if you want to commission me for artwork.
Terrific. So I'm going to ask a little bit. We have a lot of young witches and pagans and women and men and every other form of the spectrum, but they're always looking at getting modeling. I've heard this a lot from many of the younger folk in our community about modeling or being more
Right.
visual. Can you give them any advice since you've been at this for a short while?
First things first, do your homework because if you're starting out, you're going to be eager to just get started taking photos and things like that, but you absolutely need to do your research on your photographers. If possible, ask for references of other people they've worked with, because unfortunately there are predatory people in this industry, so you have to be vigilant. Like, safety is extremely important.
And that makes sense. And then once they know that's true, and then you should figure out how to be their authentic self, or as because everybody thinks of modeling as being, and I'm making it set straight by a lot of the people that I've been listening to, is that it's really about being authentic. But a lot of people feel like it's fake, it's modeling, it's plastic. That's not true, is it?
No, like, as long as you're enjoying what you're doing and you're comfortable, it's going to show in your photos. And that's another thing I wanted to get to. Like, not only do be vigilant, but do not be afraid to set boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm comfortable with artistic nudity, but there's some models that are not comfortable with it. But you need to set that boundary and don't let someone pressure you into taking photos that you're not comfortable with, because if you're uncomfortable or unhappy, it's going to show in your body language, it'll show in your facial expressions, and you don't want that.
Because people do in this day and age, especially as we learn more and more about social media, we pick up nuances ever more. So last set, you said you do burlesque.
Yes.
What shows are you doing now? Do you have any shows out there that people can go out and see?
The last show I did was in August. It was the Detroit Erotic Art Expo. So I kind of took a little bit of hiatus, but so at the moment I don't have any shows booked yet, but I'm open for bookings.
Okay, so Jade Aurora. Show us your books one more time. Let everybody see those. Motor City Witches. It sounds exciting. It sounds interesting. These are books I'm going to have to read. And there you go. Thank you. And happy Yule. And so people find her, Jade Aurora. You can find her on Facebook. It's blackgold.com for your publisher.
Blackgoldpublishing.com.
Oh, blackgoldpublishing.com.
Yes.
Try it out. It sounds like an exciting publishing company. And any last words you'd like to say to our audience out there for this holiday season?
I just want to say thank everyone for listening, and I hope you have a safe and fun holiday.
And we'll keep an eye on Detroit. I think it's an up and rising community. So thank you. And we continue on our marathon and buy these books, Motor City 1 and 2. It sounds so exciting. I learn something every day. Blessings.
You too.
And continue on our Yule marathon and discussing the ideas behind Yule and presents you can get for your family, as well as other types of ways you can support your community, our economic ecosystem, through purchasing within the community. And I have the good fortune to know and have met Krys Copeland. And Krys Copeland is Speak Your Own Books, who's been tearing through the community, helping them raise the literacy of our community by helping people create their own books. And it's a fascinating idea. Hi, Krys.
Hi, nice to see you again, Ed.
And Krys has been doing Speak Your Own Book, which is now a
series on Pagan World TV. You've got a course on Witch School. You have a new book out on it
Yes.
and everything else. Can you tell us a little bit about Speak Your Own Book for those who are hearing this for the first time?
Sure. So, I'm the CEO of Speak Your Own Book. It's actually ran as a social entrepreneurship on holacracy governance, which means we share in the responsibilities of the organization. We basically our goal is to help people who may not have a platform for their voice share their voice, and that can be through our TV show. It can be through selling books, or we can even help them with creating audio books and then even transcribing that. But basically, we help people create books, and that's part of our organization. That's the entrepreneurship part. But the social part of our organization is connecting people who want to write their own books to writers in marginalized communities. So we're talking. Most of our writers are from Kenya. In fact, if you watch the Speak Your Own Book show, you'll see in a few weeks an interview with one of our writers, Silas, and Silas is from Kenya, like most of our writers, and we also support writers in the LGBTQ community, women writers, non-binary writers. We want to give people who may not have that voice a chance to speak.
And so, boy, that's the essence of it, giving people a voice.
Yeah.
And in this world where books are important and they're still extremely essential, even no matter what form they come in. You've done a number of books. And one of the books that you did, I think, or one of the earliest books you did was a children's book.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Tell us about.
This was our second children's book, actually. We've done two. I have another one over here. It's The Dreamer's Journey Tarot, but that one's less vital to this season, so we'll take a look at the Yule one. I don't know if your listeners have already listened to the Yule story or will listen to it coming up. But when you hear the Yule story, you'll realize it's a story about a little girl named Lola. And Lola moves with her parents to a place called Nisahagen. Nisahagen is a made-up place where pagans, mostly Norse-ish pagans, live, and they celebrate the changing of the seasons and the fight of the Holly King and the Oak King. And it's told in a very clever way by one of our writers called Furfe Vilka. His other name is Fernando. But he goes by Furfe for short. And Furfe wrote this book. He's an Argentinian writer, so he comes to it with that aspect as well. And then our illustrator on it is a Dutch stick and poke tattooer named Peter de Metz, and he does a very cartoonish, fun, whimsical style of art with it.
And let's go right away. How would people get this book? What's the best way to buy it from you?
You can go straight to our website for this one. In fact, it's only available on our website. We have not yet registered it through Amazon, but you can purchase it through the website at speakyourownbook.com/SYOB bookstore, or just speakyourownbook.com and click on the bookstore. Once you do that, you'll see Yule at Nisahagen. You can click on Furfe Vilka as the author, and you can sort and find his books on there, and Yule at Nisahagen will come up. So that's the way you can get it. It's available in PDF. So if your young one likes to read on a Kindle or an e-reader, then that's definitely available for them. You can also purchase it as a physical copy, like the one that I have here. And it's a full color cover with cartoon-like drawings on the inside that the kids can color themselves.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You can also print out the PDF version and read it that way.
That's a wonderful thing. So for somebody who's got people who are interested in books, not necessarily themselves, but they know people who are interested in books, how could they give possibly a gift towards getting them started?
So if someone wants to write a book, they can reach out to us at speakyourownbook.com, or you can go to any of our socials on Instagram, on Facebook, on TikTok, and find us there and communicate with us through a message. That will put you into contact with Maureen Ochieng. You'll see if you watch the Speak Your Own Book TV show, I've interviewed her and she'll be in an upcoming episode. Maureen handles all of our scheduling across not only this company, but also our organization called Rhiannon Farms, which we've spoken about before. So you'll hear
Absolutely.
more about
and
that
probably more about as it comes up, because I think this year it'd be I think 2023 is going to be a dramatic year where we can get a lot of leverage on it. So can you tell people some of the other things? So I know that you've worked with the Corellian Publishing, which has a number of books coming out and have come out, and you worked with a number of other things. But we've talked about that before. So what other types of books are coming out through you that you are excited about that you can talk about?
So the ones that we have coming up for next year so far, we are going to be working on with Lady Stephanie on her upcoming book, and I just did an interview with her. So if anyone wants to go back and find that episode on YouTube, you can learn more about her upcoming books that will be published in 2023. We are also going to be working on the Speak Your Own Book textbook. For Witch School students. We have this based in nonfiction work. What we're going to be doing with the next work is focusing on fiction. So we are creating a fictional version. So if people want to write fiction, they have that to look forward to probably towards the end of 2023.
So let's go ahead and talk about for people who are not looking for books that are pagan, but technical manuals, other types of manuals, books. Now, one of the things I think that is very cool about what you're offering is that when we started some of the ideas behind it was to help Lord Don of the Crown tradition turn his vlogs into a book, which is now called Rev Don's Books of Questions. 2 volumes are out. The 3rd volume is going to come out this spring.
Yeah, we love working on that. It was a lot of fun, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next one come out next year. I know he has another one right after that too, a book 4.
So that was taken from recorded pieces. So if you have a podcast or a lecture or a series of lectures, that makes a really good start. You don't have to invent it from scratch.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can take whatever you currently have, whatever type of content you currently produce, and you can reformat it into a book. After that, I also suggest reformatting it into the audiobook, since so many people listen to audiobooks these days. But yeah, absolutely, that's a great way to do that.
And so here we are. So Speak Your Own Book. You can go there. It has a lot of options for people who are interested in writing. I know there's a lot of people who say, I would write a book. You'll hear coaches all the time saying the number one answer is to have a book. The way you get speaking engagements, they say, have a book. I mean, at the end of the day, isn't that what, for people who are building credibility, can you talk about what the credibility of having a book is?
Oh, it's amazing. And I didn't realize that when I first started writing books. So I graduated from college when I was 28. And when I started my first job, they asked, it was a bunch of teachers in a room, like probably 1,000 teachers, the entire district. And they asked if anyone was a published author in the room. So I kind of timidly raised my hand like this, and one older gentleman in the room did, and nobody else did. And they asked us about what that book was, and what advice they would give to other people. And then I started realizing, whoa, like I didn't even make any money off of that book that I published, but all of a sudden people are interested in it just because I published a book. So even just getting a book out there is a great way to get your name out and to develop more of a network. It's social proof, basically.
And let's talk about the last part of it. So it used to be you invest a lot of time into creating a book, and it was a lot of typing, a lot of editing, and then you would try to get a publisher to publish it. And even then, so you did this great book, you went out to it, and you could get to a publisher, or you didn't. And if you didn't, your book kind of stayed on the shelves, in your room, and all this gatekeeping. Or you took the big jump of self-publishing, and that was still another big expense, and you had no way of getting into it. It's really changed. Can you tell us how that is no longer true, is it? None of that's true anymore.
No, none of that's true anymore. So there are so many tools now. You can do print on demand, so you don't have to pay anything up front unless someone buys your book, and only then you'll actually pay anything out, and it comes out of your profit. So you're still getting whatever's left out of that, and you don't have to have any upfront investment for printing costs or things like that. As far as covers go, you used to have to pay like thousands of dollars to get a decent book cover done. Now you can pay an artist to make one for a couple of hundred. If you want to pay for it to be done, a professional one, you can also create one yourself using design programs like Photoshop or even old desktop publisher, if anyone remembers that from back in the day. And you can create your own art cover, and you can even use AI generated art that's commercial for not commercially, or you can use for free for commercial use. So there are all these tools now in place to bypass the publishers, bypass that middleman, and get your book straight into the hands of your readers without that publishing company. And I'll tell you, the first time I published, the first 2 books I published, I say I didn't make anything. The publishing company made some money off of it, but I didn't make anything. And I started realizing just how difficult it was to make a writer if you go through or make money as a writer if you go through the traditional route of writing. It's much easier to make money and be successful as a writer if you publish yourself these days.
And if you listen to Ellen Everett Hopman, which we interviewed for this as well, you'll find out that 3 of her fiction books went away from a publisher, and she's discovering she's making twice as much money now being her own self-publisher. There's a lot of stories out of there. So there's always the idea of the publisher should, if you like publishers and want some of that, that's great. And that's terrific. And this will help you getting a book ready for publishing as close as you can with all the edits it is. But you don't have to despair if it doesn't get picked up. You have other options. And
Yes.
there have been people starting small publishing houses in the middle of there too. So there's lots of independents who are emerging because of this idea of zero cost manufacturing to the individual. And that is, and equally so, this is the space that you kind of moved into pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so there's so one last thing. Well, first of all, the second kids book you have, what is it? Because even though it may not be Yule, it's a tarot deck. It's a tarot cards for kids.
It is. So this is written by author Monica K. Crossan, who's well known for her books on pagan family and how to, make your home and make your family have enjoyable activities around this. So, arts and crafts and rituals for children and things like that. And so we worked with her, and this was a group project. So she did part of the writing, we did part of the writing, and then we would edit together in an online meeting. And, that's how we worked as a team. And so we wrote the story. And the story is basically the story of the tarot, the journey of the fool. But instead of calling him a fool, we've chosen to update that word into modern language as dreamer. So I don't know if people can see that, but it's the dreamer's journey. Yeah. And so each story is about 5 minutes long. It's great for a bedtime story. It also has cards at the back that your child or you, if you're into it, because I also have my own deck, where you can, and you'll notice that the art style is very similar to this Yule book because Peter Demetz did this artwork as well. And this is the back of a card. So he did it like a tattoo flash sheet, like you would see in the shops where you can go and pick out a tattoo. And let me show you so here's like the angel card. And you'll notice that all of the figures are non-binary. We did that on purpose so that children can genderize the characters themselves however they wish. And we felt that was really important because we know that there are a lot of non-binary people and trans people in our community, and we want to make sure that they are seen and heard and respected. So we wanted to make that available for all children. Another thing I want to point out is that after each of the stories, we have a coloring page for the kid. So you could read a story a night and work your way through the tarot deck, and they could do a coloring page once a week or something like that. It's a great thing to work through with your child or on your own.
Yeah, so we don't talk about the fact that adults color too.
Yes.
We're giving ourselves permission. I do love the fact that we're entering a world where play is far more acceptable. Because, that's what I do. I play all day. I tell people that all the time. And when you play a lot, you can change the world around you. So thank you. You're changing the lives of people. You're getting them to be able to express themselves better. And I'm really grateful for that service into our community. I think it's a unique one. And I've seen it change lives. I've seen it begin changing the way people relate. And so thank you for that and this Yule and everything else. So check it out. Speak for your own book. Any last thoughts you want to share?
Well, I also want to share that, the pagan community has in return changed my life. I am now living my dream that I've had since I was a child, which is to be a professional writer. And now I've found a way to work with other people who want to do writing, to help change, like you said, change the world through social entrepreneurship, through providing jobs for people. And I want to just thank the pagan community because I am living my dream because of them.
And that is what it's all about this Yule. Make your wishes, decide what your dream is going to be, and think about getting your book written in 2023. It'll change the way you look at yourself and the world looks at you.
Absolutely.
So, blessed be. Thank you. And Merry Yule. I hope you have a great one.
Merry Yule to you as well. And here in the Netherlands, it's almost Sinterklaas, so happy Sinterklaas as well. Yeah.
We're going to have to find out more about this stuff later, but we are always left with more questions than we started with. And there we go. And we're on and continue watching, and we're going to bring you more great products and people this season.